Okay, we'd like to invite our SLP.
Okay. Okay.
We apologize for the lengthy executive session. We just want to make sure we're getting these right.
Thank you all for coming back up. And we want you to know that we have heard you and we continue to hear you. We are taking this very seriously, and the reason so, we've had a lot of input and discussion, but we also believe at this time that there's a couple more things that we want or that we would need in order to make another decision. So we're going to ask each of you individually to prepare to prepare us some evidence that shows your preparation time during the day has been missed, and to support your assertion that it was and when it was on a daily basis. Yes, this is going to require some more time out of your day to do this, but we believe that it's fair because we want all the information from you in order to really render a good decision.
Madam President,
Mrs. Fair?
is it fair to ask for some sort of time frame to give them an idea of how fast they have to work to do it?
I think that's a great question that we need to come to consensus on. It's important to note too that in our grievance process, we have 14 days after the decision was made, just so that there's an understanding. So you're not expecting a decision 14 days from tonight. So in order to get a decision more quickly, we need to have the information and have another meeting more quickly. I don't know, what do you guys, what would be a fair expectation for you?
Well, just to clarify, when you're asking for that evidence, are you talking on a week or
Daily.
every day from the beginning of the year?
Yep.
May I ask?
Yes.
I'm slightly confused because I'm not sure, I personally don't have a prep time even scheduled into my day, nor do I think any of us do. I don't even have enough minutes in my day to have a prep time scheduled in, so I'm not sure what exactly you want.
Copy of your schedule for the day.
Just,
think
yeah,
that
just,
would
just
be-
something that we can say, look, we can clearly see that they are missing this one.
Since the beginning of the year for each day?
Your unassigned time. Yes, from the beginning of the year.
We have a baby around us.
I think that President Rick's asked, looking at your schedule, you guys keep probably really good schedules because every day your minutes are. How long do you think it would take you to gather that type of information? We want to give you as much time. But we don't want it to obviously be,
Take forever
yeah,
for us to-
4 weeks
yeah,
down the road.
Be able to get back to you.
Yeah, any idea what?
I have a hard time coming up with something like that on top of what I do already.
Me too.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't,
We agree that that'll cause you some more time out of your day.
Are you thinking, can I ask, are you thinking like write down all the mornings that we have meetings? Like go back in our calendar and write down every 8 to 8:30 meeting we had?
You should just be able to just copy off your calendar. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to type it or write it, just make a copy.
Yeah.
It'll be lots of paper, we know that.
Print it out.
so our schedule, which shows, when we're with kids and that, and then our calendar, would that be
Are they different?
Would that be clear? Well, yeah, because we schedule what time we're seeing which kids and that, if we're at different buildings or whatever. And then our calendar would show meetings or,
Sure.
Yeah, both. And
Yeah,
Would that-
I think that would be
is
fair.
that
Yeah.
enough information?
Well, I guess it should be.
We just don't want to provide it and have it not be
Oh, I know,
sufficient.
and if you could do that and provide that to just You don't have to chase down any of us, just give it to Dr. Sullivan.
Or, yeah.
Route it through Dr. Sullivan.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you would know best. If that's going to be representative of your work, then perfect. That's what we want. If your schedule and your calendar shows everything that you need to show us, then that should be sufficient.
You guys have a lot of confused looks.
I don't know that that's gonna show it.
We
But
all have schedules where we have our students written in at what time on that day that we see that student. I mean, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, and
I have an example with me. Would you like for me to share it and see if that's enough for you guys, or? I mean, I've got my calendars and my schedules with me. I don't know if that's enough for what you're looking for.
I think if you look at your day and it shows what you did, that is all you need. That's all we need.
Yeah.
And we've all provided schedules, correct?
Yeah, we provide, our schedules don't have any prep time in them because we don't have prep time.
so
I mean,
So if you
print it off.
if you show your if you show us your actual schedule of what you actually did, that would work.
That's what I should.
Yeah, schedules plus calendar, that should cover it.
have your schedule and calendar
And so if some of us may have had prep time listed, but you're using it as testing time, then
it should show somewhere in there, right?
You should show that you were what you were
Testing.
doing.
Yeah.
Do not get that prep
Testing.
time, right?
Would the testing be on your calendar? Just so
well,
it's
I don't
somewhere?
know if it's going to be specific enough for you.
Well, share us, give us what you have.
I'm trying to think if we can go back that far.
Yeah, we just need to have something objective to hold on to as we're trying to figure out what to do about this situation.
Okay.
So what?
I still see some
Just trying to-
turnarounds. I
just
see
trying
the
to
wheels
think.
turning. I just want to make sure that we're kind of on the same page. We're just looking for a representation of what you're doing during the day, when you're doing it.
Well, and we
what
mark,
times you're doing
for
it.
example, we all keep track of when we see kids. And if we don't see them, we all have a different way of doing it, but I would put maybe I am testing.
Sure.
Or the child's absent or at an activity or whatever. But I don't know when I haven't seen a kid because they went to a field trip, if I put what I did in that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did
I
I
think it's fair to
test?
say-
Did I do paperwork? Did I,
Yeah,
you know?
I think, well,
So there
we're not
might be
really
holes
looking
like
at
that.
this very detailed, but there might be holes in it. But we're trying to get a representative of what each
Sure.
of you do. And we know you're all doing something different at different
Sure.
times, and this will give us you individually
Okay.
instead of you collectively. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, and we know your caseload has shifted over the years, so that's why
Sure.
we need a longer sample, I guess, than just
We want to make sure
that
we have you from the beginning of the year till now, okay?
Okay.
So the scribbles and the lines and the
Oh, yeah,
circles, it's
yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
fine.
All of it.
Carry a mouse.
Look at Chris's day book.
Yeah, it's like 3 different ones.
Yeah, so that's, can you do that for us?
Mhm.
Okay.
What would be a
What's
fair
it-
amount of time, yeah, for get that?
Couple weeks,
Can we do it in a
couple
week?
days, couple,
Months?
Can we do it by next Monday?
No, I
Is
need
that-
more than a week.
I would
More
too.
than that?
2 weeks, I mean, we wouldn't, the sooner we can get this, the sooner we can get it resolved, and the sooner, so.
3 weeks?
Let's do 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Can you do that? Can we do 2 weeks?
Sure. That's fine. Okay, 2 weeks, so we'll expect, we'll be looking for that in the next 2 weeks. And then, do we want to go ahead and schedule a meeting now, or we want to wait for that and then we'll figure it out?
we're gonna wait and then decide.
Okay, okay. All right. I think that's all we have at this moment. Do we need a motion to table this at this time?
I don't think so.
Since we're not rendering a decision right now?
The agenda doesn't say that we're making anything.
Okay, just to be safe, can we have a motion to table?
Madam President, I want to table this discussion until we have further information from parties and have had an opportunity to review, review the information.
Just table.
Just table. You said a lot to just table. I second the very lengthy table.
Okay. Thank you. Moved by Mrs. Rude and seconded by Mrs. Ross. Is there any discussion on that motion? We don't discuss? No. Not table is no.
Table's gone.
Okay, all right, it's done. Thank you. I'm still learning. Thank you.
Thank you all.
We
Thank you
appreciate
very
your
much.
time very much. Oh, we do have to vote on this, though. We can't discuss it. Okay. All right. We are going to have a vote on this motion to table, and we'll just take a roll call vote. Mrs. Fair? Aye. Mr. Seeks?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mrs. Rude?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries unanimously. The motion is tabled. Thank you.
The
Agenda item is tabled. I think we're all tired. Okay. That brings us to business item E, Hagan Junior High Facility Repurpose Discussion. I believe Dr. Sullivan has some information.
Thank you, Madam President. This is just a follow-up to a previous discussion that the board had during its state mandated planning. And just letting the board know that Mrs. Goodall at Southwest Community High School has met with Mrs. Kilwine and Mrs. Grandel from those two entities. And they've come up with a plan. And basically what the plan does is takes the third floor and divides it up between the three programs, and possibility of utilizing one classroom on the second floor. And so we are moving forward with moving Southwest Community High School Adult Learning Center and West Dakota Family Parent Resource Center, as well as PD Lab and possibly Tech Department, but we haven't concluded the discussion about the Tech Department yet. But those other four entities over to Hagan Junior High in the fall of 2017 when we open the new middle school.
Great.
That concludes my comments.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Sullivan?
I have one, Madam President.
Mrs. Fair?
Just for Dr. Sullivan, so some of these other things that are being contemplated are still under discussion, right? They're-
Madam President,
They're not off the table is what I mean.
Madam President, Mrs. Fair, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Madam President, I have one question. How does this, how many square feet does this increase their size by? Oh, that's too hard.
Oh, it's on here. It's about double.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, I did.
It's on the, yes, the first document. They're going from.
I just showed it to her.
Okay.
I got it.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing no further questions, we will move on to item F, Budget Development and Input Committee Report. Dr. Sullivan, Mrs. Ross, and Mr. Seeks are the people. Talk about this item.
They're the people.
They're the people.
I lost it.
Just report on your budget committee.
I don't have that kind of memory. I take medication.
Is that why you're getting on?
No. Hold on.
We've got the minutes here.
Okay, Madam President.
Dr.
Thank you.
Sullivan, thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, we met with the budget committee on March 24th and discussed the following items. As the board is aware, we're currently still looking at our attendance areas and things of that nature for the fall of 2017. And one of the things we requested was that the budget committee approve a $500,000 line item for buses for this next school year, because with the new middle school opening, it is very likely that requests for in-city shuttle bus services will increase. And so the budget committee did approve that. we received permission from the Budget Committee to proceed with a center-based emotionally disturbed education program for grades K to 5. But it's important for me to remind the audience and to remind the school board that our landscape changed after this meeting. In the month of March, the school district's enrollment declined by 39 students, which means we're down 134 students from the beginning of the school year. In addition to that, the anticipated increase in health insurance, which we had at 8%, has been increased to 14% for the upcoming school year. And the assistant superintendent is no longer projecting an enrollment increase for the fall of 2016. So we're hoping that something turns around. The point that I'm getting to is while we have the positions advertised for the center-based emotionally disturbed education program for the elementary schools, I have not given permission to fill those positions at this time because we're cautious about the budget. And I want the school board and the budget committee to be aware that we have some people who have resigned, and the first thing that we are looking at before we advertise those positions is to determine if we can appropriately collapse the classrooms and not fill the position. So the budget is getting a little bit more dicey to navigate. The third item was a needs assessment, and the budget committee did approve for us hiring additional counseling services at the high school and providing additional building level administrative support. As with the emotionally disturbed center-based program, those have been placed on hold also, waiting to see what some of the numbers are going to be. The next item was conducted in accordance with the memorandum of understanding that was developed between the school board and the DEA last year, where the board would discuss the stipend pay increase for teachers, and the administration recommended and the budget committee approved increasing that from $28 to $30 an hour for next year. The budget committee was reminded that in the fall of 2017-18, with the opening of the middle school, there will be some additional positions necessary. We did not give any information on numbers yet, and we will provide that information at a later date to the budget committee, but we wanted the budget committee to be aware of that. And the final item was we did request from the budget committee because we have vacancies for 2.6, it's actually 2.4, right? Yeah, 2.4 speech therapists. And we did request from the budget committee to increase that to 3.0 because it's easier to hire a full-time FTE than it is a part-time FTE. So those were the items on the budget committee agenda, Madam President.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sullivan. Are there any questions for Dr. Sullivan or budget committee members? Mrs.
I had a question on the speech therapy positions, and it says that some people were interviewed recently, and I'm just wondering if those look like they are possibilities. Those are my questions. Didn't end up.
Madam President, Mrs. Fair, we have one contract signed by speech-language pathologists.
Yay!
And we have begun the paperwork options for hiring speech-language pathologists from the Philippines through a program, and we did 6 Skype interviews with individuals, and our committee and a subcommittee of Mrs. Martinson and Mrs. Twist reviewed our findings and added to that, and we have made 2 offers to start that process. It takes a little longer. We started with 1 individual, and so getting all of the sign here documents done has been completed for him, and then HR has been directed to start the second one. So we cannot offer them contracts until they are in the United States. And so it's a lengthy process. We've committed to that, obviously, but until they get a teaching license or certification with the state of North Dakota, we couldn't offer them a contract either. But so we're not sure how long that will take, but we certainly will. You'll be kept up on that through personnel reports on a monthly basis for the board, if we indeed have them, those two individuals locked in and agreeing to be our speech language part of our team. So.
Thank you. I have one more question.
Sure, Mrs. Gray.
My other question was on the emotionally disturbed education program. I didn't see here, does it say about how much staff is needed for that? Does it look like maybe 3, I can't tell. Dr. Sullivan?
Madam President, Mrs. Fair, our estimate was 1 licensed person and 2 to 3 paras.
I have been on this board for many years, and I think that we have discussed this almost since I got on the board. And when it first started talking about it, it was seen as a luxury and somewhat frivolous, because you may have 1 student every so many years, and why would we want it? But my experience with my job and just the observations I have, I feel like this is really a necessity, and I just felt like I wanted to express that. And I know you're working through the budget on it, but I believe it's, as stated here, it's best for the children who would be affected, but also the other children in the classroom, those other students, to be able to learn. And then also, I think it talks about reintegrating children back into the classroom. I think that's really important also. So I just wanted to express my opinion that I think this is extremely important program, as others are also.
Thank you, Mrs. Fair. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, we will move on to item G, major summer building projects. Mr. Reed.
You have before you in supporting documents a moving list, if you will, of all of the projects that we've got quotes for at this point. If you got a chance to review that, you see that there are a couple that don't. Since this has been posted, we've picked off most of them. We're still waiting on a couple of things, but the majority and the bulk of the budgetary heavy lifters are in here. I will speak in further detail on when we talk about item J on the Roosevelt boiler replacement, but clearly that's the large ticket item on here. As you can see, it's not a really large, extensive list this year, but we are continuing the window replacements at Hart River Elementary. We would have 17 or 18 to go after this year. And we did start on the south elevation at Lincoln on the west end of that building, and we'll continue to work on the east end next summer with replacing those windows, which just have, for lack of a better word, just seen their time and have worn out, and they either don't open or they're not functional. And so we'll continue to work on that, and also providing some, as always, we have carpet and we have sidewalk to put in. The main sidewalk project is at Prairie Rose. We did not put a sidewalk going across the playground to the west. The kids created the trail, and so now we're going to pave it. Because that's where they go to get those who get picked up on the west. And in fact, we've had conversations with the DLR and Mortensen Group. There are a lot of schools that do that now. They wait to see where kids walk on campuses, and then they take care of it. And this will be an opportunity that will have less muddy floor mats for moms and dads picking up on the west side. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be really happy about that sidewalk.
So, with that, any questions on any items?
Mrs. Rood.
I do have a question. You know, I think it was last year we went through and reviewed the Dickinson High School and one of the two of the outbuildings, some of the windows needed some replacement as well as maybe some air conditioning. Has that been addressed? Or anything along those lines?
Air conditioning was on there.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know of
for-
any air
for those
conditioning
three
units
rooms.
in the
Is that the-
vocational
That's
education
where the,
building.
yeah,
The brown, I don't know,
Yellow.
the brown windows outside.
it's always yellow building
Yeah, I think so. I think it's in yellow building.
with the scary stairs.
No,
Oh,
with the,
Are you talking the yellow building?
No, the greenhouse
the
building?
greenhouse building, thank you.
Yep, they talked about the windows being drafty. Apparently that didn't rise to a priority.
Yeah.
Other than the Dickinson
It
High.
didn't make the maintenance staff
It
or
did
Mr.
get the-
Doctors.
It did get the roof leak though. They
Yeah.
got that going.
but the scary stairs are still there.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item H, National School Board Association Convention highlights. Several of us had the opportunity to go last week to Boston for the National School Board Association Convention. And this year, we have not submitted written reports yet. We're hoping in order to be able to better use the information to be able to have a meeting and discuss the various things that we've learned to make us a more effective and efficient board. But I did want to say that I was very grateful for the opportunity to go and that I feel I learned a great deal. Anyone else wants to make a comment?
I would.
Mrs.
President?
Ross?
Also again, my last conference, but again, grateful for the opportunity to have gone. And I must admit that this was probably one of the top 3 best conferences that I have been to. And I'm looking forward to kind of changing how we utilize that information. Because writing a report is all one thing and sharing it here, but we really want to share it with you and everybody else
Look at how
because.
eager they are to get that.
Yeah, because we're gonna have a really long workshop. But it just makes much more sense because we've talked about this a while but there's a couple of things that really stand out for me. I said the last conference class that I went to actually brought me to tears because of the possibilities and the immense amount of love that so many players have for kids and education. So I am really excited to show that. I taped that whole entire presentation too. I will give it to you.
Excellent. Yeah, we might need to set up a website or a place for us to put all the supporting things that we've gathered from our session. Okay, any other comments or yes? Mrs. Bear?
I just wanted to say, I think not a highlight, but a hot button issue nationally is LBGT issues. There was probably 5 sessions, was there 5? I attended a couple, but they were also repeated throughout, and really a wide variety of thought and opinion, so food for thought. The law one I thought on that issue for schools was the most important. I did see one that I thought I did attend one that talked about orienting new board members more effectively to the board. And that may be, I would be willing to work on that for our board because it gives, just the way it was presented, it would give a new board member greater comfort and greater information in coming on to the school board. And it's not just about the school board, but learning about the school district. And I did go to one session that I couldn't get into one, so I just went to the one next door, and it turned out to be really fantastic, and it talked about possibilities for really that maybe pass on to someone at RASP. And it was presented by a company who's of course trying to sell curriculum. But as I sat there, I thought, we're already doing some of these things, and all these things that they're talking about can be done with no extra money. And it was just, and very easy things of what they were talking about. So I will pass it on to the appropriate people at some time.
Yeah, I think this is exactly, you know, the things that we can talk about when we set up a time, so that we can really utilize the information and kind of make assignments and decide, what we're going to change about ourselves as a board, so.
Madam President, I kind of had the same, same comments, I guess, along the lines. I just want to thank the district for providing the opportunity to go to start with, but then in some of the sessions, it was a standing room only that I went to, actually in quite a few of the sessions. And so it was well attended, and I think it was well received by most individuals that attended, as well as us. And so I do look forward to being able to share our findings and maybe take some action a little bit better than what we have in the past.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to item I, teacher negotiations update.
Breakfast and lunch.
Oh, do I have
Let's
an
see
older?
before that.
No, I have
I had one.
You're wrong. Teacher
Oh, okay.
negotiation.
You have a different agenda.
Well, there you have it. Mark that one down.
They stuck something in there.
Okay.
I just wanted to read.
No.
So I think maybe we have
Two
an older
different
version
agendas.
of the agenda on the website.
I on the website is teacher negotiation update.
The one that cabinet handed out is the one I'm on this morning. I don't know what's.
I don't know, I'm on what's posted. Madam President, would you like me to briefly report, or are we still
Well,
getting it?
I guess on yours is the teacher negotiations update right before the last item on the agenda. No, it's not. Okay, then it doesn't matter. Let's just go with the background agenda that we're all looking at when we see this here. So yes, Mrs. Fair.
Okay, so as you can see by the background agenda, Mrs. Ricks and I are the representatives on the teacher negotiations team. We meet again this Wednesday, as Dr. Sullivan said. This is meeting number 7, so just so you know. Three things to, let's see. I want to just let you know the topics that are being discussed, and which would be super block, recruitment of highly qualified and experienced teachers, and clarifying the definition of national certification in a negotiated agreement. And then some of the other topics are salaries, evaluating and discussing indexes on the salary schedule, graduated personal leave, school calendar, outside the workday compensation, management rights clause, licensed teacher substitute pay, remove reference to school board policy and professional negotiated agreement, definition of a teacher in the negotiated agreement, and the school day. So those are all the topics, and I think that this Wednesday we may get to actually talking about proposals, is what we're hoping we will get to. We have a tentative agreement on the language cleanup, and the DEA removed retention of highly qualified and experienced teachers because it's very similar to other topics. So we're trying to get those narrowed down and get through them. We have a tentative date of trying to be done in May. I don't remember the exact date that we set, but 6, yeah. So that contracts can be issued in a timely manner.
So we've got some serious work to do to have that.
Yep, so we meet this Wednesday. That is my report, Madam President.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Fair or me?
How about lots of thanks? Thank you. This is like very long. There's more topics we've had to deal with in years.
Okay, we will move on now to Mr. Reed's eagerly awaited topic of breakfast and lunch meal prices.
Because it's a thriller, Madam President, members of the board, as happens every year, in order to be in compliance with Section 205 of the Healthy and Hungry-Free Kids Act of the federal government, we have to evaluate our meal prices with a formula that they provide us. There was a 2% increase and a 2.19 inflationary factor. And we also then look at our internal expenses and revenues to see if that follows where we are. But all of that being said, if you run these formulas, the price increases, we can go higher than 10 cents on meals. Traditionally, we haven't. We've eased into it, and so the administrative recommendation would be to follow the sample motion and approve the meal prices as written.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Reed?
Madam President,
Mrs. Blair?
I move to approve a fee of $1.40 for student breakfast, $1.70 for adult breakfast, $2.25 for lunch for students in grades K through 6, $2.55 for lunch for grades 7 through 8, $3.35 for lunch for grades 9 through 12, and $4 for lunch for adults, effective fall of 2016.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Mrs. Fair and seconded by Mrs. Ross. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Mrs. Rude?
Aye.
Mr. Seeks?
Aye.
Mrs. Fair?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries unanimously. And now we are on to item K, Roosevelt Elementary Boiler System Replacement Bid. Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, last Tuesday, we had a bid opening for the boiler replacements at Roosevelt Elementary. The number that was given by the design team, the architect and engineers, for an estimate was $115,000. We were shocked, to say the least, when we opened the bids, the low bid being $252,000. So we requested a meeting. We took the bids under advisement, requested a meeting with the design team, and asked them, how can that be? We did have two bids from two mechanical companies that we've done business with, both of them. And they were both, although one was $20,000 higher than the other, they're both similar. There were some engineering addendums that came after the estimate was given by their design team. The most significant one was that they were planning to vent these boilers all the way to the top of the stack at Roosevelt. The original plan had them coming out at a much lower range down the side, about 10 feet above that first hip roof. And the second thing that they found out is in installing those boilers, you cannot, when you're bringing them into the building, you cannot exceed and tilt them at more than 40 degrees or it voids their warranty. And with the size of the door coming in where these were coming in, they designed 3 smaller boilers instead of 2. Since then, we've done what we call some value engineering with the low bidder, and we have gone back to installing 2 boilers, which each will have 1.5 million BTUs. One boiler is enough to heat this building on a normal cold winter day, but for redundancy, we have 2. We gave them, they did the new square footage, and these boilers will do the job, but we do not, we don't need 3 in there. That was a savings of $25,000. Venting out the side of the stack instead of going to the top was another $25,000. And then they had built in automation control of the boilers. They will have their own control system like all of ours do now, and can ride our energy tech system, and we can do that without, and that was an additional $12,000 cut. So what we've done is we looked at the Century Code. It would be the administrative recommendation to accept the bid at $252,000, and then instruct myself to work with the design team and Central Mechanical to come up with the value engineering at the lower price as I've indicated. At this point, we think that would be $62,000 off what we've done, but we'll work with the mechanical engineering company and the architects before we actually sit down and sign a contract with Central Mechanical. It meets the century code, and in the spirit of community, I did call and visit with the second highest company to let them know that this is what I would recommend to the board. They're fine with that. They understand that they weren't the low bid. What I didn't want them to say is, well, we'd sat down with you too, but
Sure.
to meet the code, the board should accept the low bid, and then we'll change the project enough to bring it closer to what we want to pay for this project.
Okay, so accepting this bid does not,
It does not commit the board to enter into a contract of $252,000 with Central Mechanical.
okay, all right.
Mr. Reed, were any calculations given to how many winter coats $252,000 could buy and how many years that would last?
I will work on that,
Okay,
Mr.
no.
Six.
A joke.
And some boots.
Hats and gloves.
I would move to accept the bid submitted by Central Mechanical for $252,000 to replace the boiler system at Roosevelt Elementary and further instruct Assistant Superintendent Reed to work with the design team and Central Mechanical to come up with value engineering solutions to lower the price.
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Seeks and seconded by Mrs. Ross. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I recall looking at those boilers when Mr. Reed was still principal over there.
Which was a long time
It
ago.
was a long time ago.
What, almost as old as the boilers?
That's right, and every year,
1904, come on.
how long are these gonna last, he said, and we couldn't believe how much room they took up. So, wow, end of an era.
Did we ever decide what we're doing with all that extra space in the boiler room?
I'm not sure.
That's
All right, we will take a roll call vote. Mr. Seeks?
Aye.
Mrs. Fair?
Aye.
Mrs. Rude?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, item L, open enrollment applications. What are the wishes of the board?
Madam President,
Mrs. Ross?
I move to approve the request for a child from Pamela Prowse and a child from Carol Miller to be admitted to the Dickens Public Schools as per the open enrollment request.
Second.
Thank you, moved by Mrs. Ross and seconded by Mrs. Rude. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none and assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, item M, early resignation incentive notification.
Oh,
Madam President,
Mrs. Fair.
I move to approve the early, go back. I move to reluctantly approve the early resignation incentive for Richard Novotny, head custodian at Jefferson Elementary with an effective date of May 27th, 2016.
Bummer.
I second.
Let me see what's that. Thank you, moved by Mrs. Fair and seconded by Mrs. Ross. All right, I don't want to do it. He gives out fruit snacks. Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, the motion carries unanimously. And that brings us, oh, yeah.
I just want to thank Mr. Novotny for his work. I don't know him, and my kids never went to Jefferson, but you know what? To be a custodian for that long and take loving care of a building for that long, that deserves a medal. And again, reluctantly accepting his resignation, understanding that, but I want to thank him for his dedication to the students and to the district.
Thank you, Mrs. Fair. I think that's absolutely appropriate. Great guy.
Yes.
Okay, we are on our final item, item N, teacher negotiation strategy. Teacher contract negotiation strategy may be discussed in executive session. The legal authority for closing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code Section 44-04-19.1 subsection 9. The topic or purpose of this executive session is teacher contract negotiation strategy. What are the wishes of the board? I know.
Madam President,
Yes, Mrs. Fair.
as per North Dakota Century Code 44-04-19.1 subsection 9, I move to close the meeting and go into executive session for the purpose of teacher negotiations strategy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rude. I thought no one was a second.
Okay, we're going home. Thank you.
Moved by Mrs. Fair and seconded by Mrs. Rude. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mrs. Rude?
Aye.
Mr. Seeks?
Aye.
Mrs. Fair?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, the motion carries unanimously. The executive session will be recorded, and all members of the governing body are reminded to limit their discussion during the executive session to the announced topic. Any collective decision, collective commitment, or other final action by the governing body must occur after reconvenes in an open meeting unless final action specifically required by law to be taken during the executive session. The prohibition on taking final action during the executive session does not apply to providing guidance or instructions to our negotiators. Board policy BCAD, executive session allows certain individuals to be in attendance at the closed meeting, and those individuals are the governing board members. And the individuals deemed necessary to be in attendance as directed by the board president. The following have been asked to be in attendance: the school board members, Mrs. Chris Fair, Mrs. Tanya Rude, Mrs. Leslie Ross, Mr. Brent Seeks, Chair Sarah Rick, Superintendent Douglas Sullivan, Assistant Superintendent Vince Reap, and Recording Secretary Twyla Peterson. At this time, we will convene an executive session. We will now ask the members of the public who are attending the meeting to leave the room. We anticipate adjourning the executive session and reconvening the open portion of the meeting at approximately... Really? Okay, approximately 8:15.
Don't bet on it.
Don't bet on it.
Yeah, probably more like
I'm not
8:45.
thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the board.
Yes, exciting.